Okay, everybody, we're live on YouTube. Nobody swear. I think what we'll do to start with is just go around introducing. So we'll start off with this room, and then you guys on Hangouts, if you can introduce yourselves. I'm Gary Dunn from North East Links Council in Service Design team. We are one of the core people working on this project from our point of view, and I'll pass on to somebody else.
I'm Alex. I'm the digital marketing officer, and I do the comms for the team as well.
I am David Ferguson, Digital Programme Manager for North East Links. One of the bids that we submitted and we were successful for.
So yeah, hi, I'm Dave Morton, Programme Management over here. This is kind of a project that I had an interest in for quite a while. Obviously, pacing is a very good system. And as yet, there isn't a single council that's actually using it, replacing its systems. So we kind of thought that was a bit of a gap in the market, and really wanted that was something around user needs being met. We saw the MHCLG fund a sort of a cracking way of pulling a group of people, councils together to start having that conversation and pulling discovery what needs to happen to make this more adoptable for councils.
Hi, I'm Susan Harrison, a dual role. I am the sponsor for the service design programme for North East Links Council, but I also manage customer services, and that includes the Blue Badge team. And so I'm really interested from both perspectives how we can make GovPay work, you know, on a particular transaction. I mean, we have a really high rate of online application forms for Blue Badges, so it would be really good to be able to pilot GovPay with the new Blue Badge service, which is live on Tuesday. This won't be live on Tuesday, but the new Blue Badge service is live on Tuesday. Yeah.
I'm Lauren Allen from the service design team. So far, I've been helping with some user research for the project.
Do you want to go next?
They hear us.
Adam, can everyone hear us?
Yeah, sorry, yeah. My name's Adam. I'm a delivery manager at Publica Group, one of the partners on the project.
Thank you.
I'm Conor Delahunty. I'm an interaction designer working on the GovUK Pay team, and currently I'm feeling very jealous of the breakfast that Adam was just delivered.
It was only a cup of tea. Don't get too excited.
I'm Paul Wood, Head of Customer Operations and Transformation at Allerdale Borough Council up in West Cumbria.
Can you hear us? No, she's dropped
I think Miriam might be having some connection issues, so hope she might be able to come back in a second. Okay. I think we should crack on with it, perhaps.
Sorry. Okay, next thing I'm just going to put we've got a little bit of first, I'm going to try and get up on the screen a second. Two seconds. Okay, so everyone will hopefully be able to see the slideshow. I started it on the wrong slide.
Should we be able to see that on YouTube?
Yeah.
I can't. Mine's just going round and round and round in a circle.
No, mine is.
Okay.
But anyway, I can see it there, but I don't know if anybody else is.
Yeah, we might be struggling for bandwidth if we've got everyone watching YouTube in here as well.
Oh, right. Okay. Well, yeah, it's not a problem.
So yeah,
She said it's working for her.
this is the project is the gov.uk Pay in Local Government project. It's funded by MHCLG. We have several partners that we've just been introduced to. So the first thing to say really is welcome, and thank you for everyone who's managed to come on the call, and anyone who might be watching on YouTube. It's a bit of a new experience for us, broadcasting on YouTube, but hopefully it'll all carry on working. So the first question we need to be asking really is, what are we doing? Why are we here? And Dave Morton is going to just give you a quick outline of what we're doing.
Okay, so talking through 3 bullets on the screen, where really the top one is really understanding how money flows through local government, in particular around income management. So we know Pay is very good at taking payments, doing refunds, and actually getting money to the bank. In local authority, there's a long-standing need around, or at least a habit, perhaps not a need, we'll find that out as we go through the discovery, but around income management, how we actually get that money plus sort of cash, plus checks, and many other sorts of payments into our income management system, and how that then flows into our ledger system, with the ledger being the ultimate place where we take decisions around what money we have for new schemes and for running our services. The second bullet point is really very much around, we know lots and lots of user research is being done by the gov.uk pay team around their services, but it's really just to at least make sure we're talking about the same thing, and are our customers the same as their customers? So will the people that pay their road tax online also pay their council tax online? So that's been a chat around what our customers do. Do they sort of make payments through Amazon? Do they make payments through the council? Do they make payments with central government? And a general feeling around, if they don't, why is that? There's also a piece around understanding whether or not the actual interface that's presented has any particular impact on customers' trust and confidence in completing transactions. And to date, that's just been very much around looking at different payment engines, including gov.uk pay, with our customers, and getting a feel for how does that make them feel with the complete the transaction, but there's definitely more to go. And finally, the bit around the sort of barriers, which sort of again sort of comes back to the first point in some ways, has been very much around why is it today that not a single council has used this entirely for its e-payments, and how much of that is around sort of the existing habits around income management and the barriers we have to cross in order to make that work.
Okay. Yeah, thanks, Dave. So we've been running for maybe 2 weeks now. We have managed to do a few bits and pieces, so that's mainly what we're going to be talking about today. So here are the things that have happened so far. We started off 2 or 3 weeks ago with the Agile for Teams training provided by GDS, which is always very useful for the team. We were able to have our GDS colleagues and Adam managed to make it for our final day. So we did have an initial planning meeting where we discussed things. Following that, we did a mapping exercise with our finance and IT teams. We've had a discussion with a GDS economist about the sort of things we need to find out about for our business case, and also user research with customers. So I'll just go into those in a bit more detail. We had the planning meeting, as I mentioned, where we did talk about the scope of the problem, what sort of thing we're trying to solve. Following that, we split into 2 groups. One of which was those who were interested in the technical barriers to gov.uk pay adoption, and one with an interest in the customer needs and the business needs. So this was one of the groups, the one focused on the integrations and the technical aspects. So we were all took a turn writing down things on post-it notes, the barriers, the issues, the things we need to know. Did all that and put them up on the wall. And then Connor kindly led on the grouping exercise. So that's what you can see on the screen now, the groups that we came up with of the issues. And then we talked about the actions that we could take to discover more about those things. So you may be able to see the orange post-its. We managed to sort out the rough actions, which would be the user research with customers, the creating a workflow map of what goes on with the payments, Over to the left, more stuff to do with the research. Okay, I made that post-it myself. Sorry. Research proposals. And yeah, so they were the main actions that came out of it. We wanted to do the mapping exercise, user research with customers, and some work to inform the business case. So the other group that I mentioned, they were looking at the customer benefits and the business case theme. They did a similar session with the post-it notes and some grouping, and also came up with some actions. I think the main action that came for the business case theme was that we would produce a survey that we could distribute to other councils, and that's what we spoke to the Economist about, Alex, I think it's Alex Cobb. So that's still underway. So here's a couple of pictures from the mapping workshop we did. We had a couple of colleagues from finance, a couple from IT, Stacey from IT and Mike was on Skype. We had Paul Allen and Elaine Cook on the finance side. And that was really a discussion on trying to work out how things work, how things progress through our finance systems from a customer payment online through to as far as the ledger and the bank accounts. We found it was very complicated, as you might expect, a bit difficult to keep on track, if we're being honest, but it was really useful. We learned a lot about finance systems. We hoped we would have something put together to show you today, but we've not had time. Probably a lesson learned is that we were a bit ambitious for our first sprint, which is something we can hope to improve on. But yeah, we do have a good idea of what that needs to look like, and over the next couple of days we'll get something shared for all our partners so that we can all comment on that and get feedback.
Oh, Gary, is that just timely to mention as well that GBS in the next sprint are looking to take that out to work with councils?
Yeah.
So it will be artifact for the next stage.
Yeah, that's right. So that's good. So yeah, Lauren Lottie from our team carried out some user research in one of our council buildings yesterday. The idea being that we need to understand our customers, what their needs are. One of the things we discussed as a team at the initial planning meeting was whether there was possibly a trust issue between the gov.uk payment system and a local government payment system. When you, as a customer, reach that portal to put your card details in, you need to be confident that it's a trusted source, it's a trusted place to put those details. So I'm just going to pass on to Lauren now to talk about that research she did yesterday, and she knows it in much more detail than me.
Yeah, so we plan to go down to our customer access point where people come in for drop-in sessions, but we had a bit of a disaster in that we've got bad weather, building works, and there was a team meeting going on yesterday. So when we went down, it was actually empty. But we decided to go around the building and speak to people that, although they work in the council, are residents of North East Lincolnshire and do make payments online. Susan and I had a conversation this morning and said, like, in the next load of user research that we'd all already spoken about doing, obviously then it would be beneficial to go out and speak to customers still. But we recognise that we are still getting users of the service. We kind of split it into two strands. So first we spoke to people about what they use gov.uk for, what they make payments for, what their experience has been like with paying online with gov.uk, any improvements to be made. And then we asked the same questions for North East Lincolnshire Council's website and paying online through them. And then the second strand, we had two payment screens, one for gov.uk Pay and one for the North East Lincolnshire Council payment screen, and asked people what they liked and didn't like about both of those and whether they had any preferences between the two. What we found out was, you on the first slide?
Second slide.
Can you go back to the second slide?
Sorry.
Yeah, what we found out is that out of the 18 people that we spoke to, 17 people did pay online using gov.uk. The services that they tended to use it for was road tax, driving licence, renewing passports, which recognise is quite recent, but everybody gave really good feedback about that. and paying for childcare or child support. Everyone said that the payment process was easy, straightforward. Only one person ever recalled any problem, and that was to do with having to update details through childcare, which was a bit of a frustration, but still recognised that the actual payment and putting the card details in and everything was still really straightforward. With the local authority, we found that not everybody always necessarily needed to make a payment through the local authority, but that people that did, it was for council tax, garden waste bins or parking fines. Most people still said that the process was easy, but there was a bit more feedback to be given. So we had some participants talk about the website navigation and trying to find the right forms to complete before they made a payment. People said that the payment was still simple and it was still straightforward, putting in your card details and things, but maybe the navigation wasn't necessarily as good as the GovUK one, and that as well, when you get to the payment screens, there was some disjointment around stuff like fonts and the layout of the page. So yeah, that was pretty much the first section. And then when it came to the comparison of the two screens, everybody did say that they'd feel confident and secure with paying through either of the web pages. Everyone would be comfortable making a payment online for North East Lincolnshire Council or GovUK, but the vast majority, bar maybe one or two participants that said that they didn't have a preference, said that they would prefer the GovUK screen. It was suggested that it looked familiar and similar to a lot of other payment screens, even things like eBay or shopping for clothes online and stuff. And I think that familiarity, people suggested as well, might make it more comfortable for people that are less computer literate to make a payment, which was a really good point. I think because it was more familiar, it felt clearer and more obvious that somebody was about to enter a transaction than maybe it did with the North East Lincolnshire Council screen. It was clearer and just looked more professional, and people just said it was prettier and more visually appealing. So yeah, in general, the GovUK one was the preference, even though people would feel confident using either of those.
So probably just as an observer looking in, I guess it's great that all of our staff would feel confident using our own portal, but it will be interesting to see in the next round with customers how that feels, because certainly people who we pay every month should feel confident we're a trusted brand.
Yeah.
That the real benefit will come in the people who we have no influence over. But yeah, it's really good stuff.
And I think I said to Lauren this morning, I think that we do need to go out and talk to, not that I'm saying our staff are not real customers, because obviously they are. They live in North East Lincolnshire, but they're still council officers. And so I think we do need to go out and talk to people that don't work for the council, so you get a real picture of what their feedback is. Yeah.
One thing that somebody did say was that, which I don't know if you've ever heard it before, Connor, is that somebody had tried to make a payment for a passport, and it was a hoax website, but that they'd copied the GovUK branding. So they ended up paying nearly £100 for a passport that wasn't them, and paying an admin fee, and it wasn't actually GovUK. So
similar sort of thing happens with blue badges. We've got one on our website at the moment.
Which just shows how much trust you put in government services. So yeah.
All right, thanks, Lauren. So those are the actions we've taken so far. Obviously, we have plans for further actions. So what might they be? We mentioned before about the business case and talking to the economist at GDS. So we've got a good idea now of what we want to ask in that survey. It's just a case of producing it and being able to distribute that. As I mentioned before, we did the mapping exercise, but we've yet to produce that in a way that's shareable and readable. So that's the next step for us. The Gov.uk pay team, Miriam and Connor, I think, are arranging to meet up with our other council partners, Publica, Allerdale, Oxford, probably, and some more others. Others planned. So the output of our mapping exercise will help with their visits to inform how they approach that mapping too. So we expect that broadly it'll be a similar arrangement, but obviously we need to understand what those differences will be. And we're hoping as a result of this show and tell that we'll get some feedback from Connor and Adam and Paul on the user research findings we've got, and we're going to plan some more sessions with customers over the next two to 4 weeks.
Possibly just worth chipping in at this point for anybody who's looking in who hasn't sort of been involved in the project today. The partner councils, the way they were selected, each of them uses either a different income management system or a different e-payment system. So when it comes to GovPay going to visit them, they're actually getting experience across the piece of all the major systems. So speaking to Capita customers, Civita customers, and SAP customers, hopefully, in terms of income management. You know, again, they'll be speaking to people with all the market leading systems. We did put a poll up on Local Digital Slack to get a feel for what people were using. We tried to select partners that use the broadest range of those things. So for all it's a small team, it's quite wide in its breadth of actual systems used. That's what to say.
Yeah, thank you. So, any questions? Anyone who's on the Hangout, if you've got any questions or anything you want to say now's a good time. We are going to enable the Q&A on the slideshow, so I'll just do that. So yeah, if you've got any questions that you want to ask us, if you're watching on YouTube, if you just follow that the URL at the top of the screen to Google Slides, you should be able to ask us questions and we will hopefully be able to answer them. So I'll hand it over to anybody who wants to ask a question.
It's Paul here up in Allerdale. Just not so much a question, more a thought. But you know, you talked about going down and talking to customers in the customer service centre. Our experience here of customers who come into the customer service centre is they're the customers that don't make payments online. So when we're looking at making comparisons and asking people about what they think about, you know, the two options, I think it's more important to get hold of the people that actually use online payments at the moment.
Yeah, we actually had this conversation this morning, didn't we? Me and Susan were saying this. I think like when we've done like the blue badge stuff and that, what the DFT have said is that they try and get like an equal amount of people of different literacies. So it's probably best to, I don't know, kind of like look at that and find maybe like 3 different locations or something when we actually go out to do more research. But yeah, definitely it is probably better to look at people that would be able to use it online rather than the people that come into the CAPs that probably are more vulnerable people and need extra help anyway.
Yeah, it's a really good point to make, and we have had that discussion this morning, haven't we? Yeah.
I think for myself, Paul, probably a healthy mix between the two, because obviously the ones that don't, we still want to understand why they don't, but yeah, absolutely, we also want to talk to the ones who do to actually work out what engenders trust. We've got a range of buildings that we can probably actually sort of drop into and do research. We've worked in everything from sort of like adult sort of centres through to sort of local community groups in the past for user research. So it won't just be limited to our customer access point. So, but yeah, thank you very much for pointing, as you say, it's absolutely essential to get those people that do use the service as well as the ones that don't.
Is that okay, Paul?
Yeah, that's great. Thanks.
Thank you. Conan, did you want to say a few words about where you are with GDS and the Gov.uk pay team?
Yeah, I can give a quick update, but perhaps just before that, if you wouldn't mind, I have a question about the mapping you did of the kind of financial systems. I know you haven't had time to totally kind of get ready to play it back and stuff, but I was just wondering if there was a kind of a couple of kind of key points that kind of maybe surprised you in that flow. I know we had a kind of very top level generic sense of kind of the shape of what it was, but I'm wondering where any of the kind of surprising variances were in your research session.
I think one of the things that surprised me most was the number of ways we accept payments. It's not just a case of we've got an e-payments portal, and we also have things called All Pay, which is like post offices and shops where people can pay cash, barcoded invoices that go to people and they can pay by cash. We also had never considered before about the other ways that money gets into the bank. So we have partner organisations like Links Inspire and Discovery Centre, which are kind of tourist leisure activities. They are separate organisations, so obviously we get money from them direct from bank accounts, so bank transfers. There's lots and lots of different ways. We learned a lot about the terms that people use in finance, things like the CND, journals,
and all sorts of links.
the end of day file. I think we made an assumption that the end of day file was an output of the income management system, but it's actually the input. So capita payments is what we use for our e-payments. They send us an end of day file each evening, and that gets loaded up. So yeah, we'd assumed it was the output, but it's not. It's the other way around. So that was very important to learn. And yeah, without having it in front of me, I'm not sure what else I can say about it. But yeah, hopefully we'll have something soon to show you.
Yeah, that's great. No, that sounds fantastic. This is exactly what I was kind of hoping would happen in this session. I was kind of best case scenario was you were going to come back and be like, we were absolutely wrong on everything. So I'm looking forward to seeing the output of that, and also if it's easier to jump on a call and discuss it for half an hour now, I'd be very happy to do that as well, because I'm sure there's quite a lot of nuance to try and get into a diagram. So maybe a call will be good as well.
It may even be worth having another mapping session with that team, the finance and the IT guys, just
Cool.
because an hour and a half is what we set aside for it, and it wasn't long enough. We could have gone for another.
All right. Okay. That says a lot already, I think.
And I think we had the chat. We've had it by Slack, and again, we had it on our training. For all this is primarily around e-payments. It's important that it's creating content for how all money flows through the organisation. So we do need to be thinking about cash, checks, the stuff that comes through the pay points, the stuff that's coming through any other sort of routes. And yeah, it's once you take the lid off that box, there's a lot in there, isn't there? Yeah.
So we've not had any questions from anyone else. Adam, do you have anything you want to mention?
I'm sort of preparing for my mapping workshops for Monday, Tuesday next week, and actually it's quite an interesting insight that you said there about the amount of time that you that you'd prepared for it, because I'd rather optimistically was looking at an hour, but I think in reality, from what you've fed back today, I think I'm going to look to extend that. Because I think you're right. We start to get into a bit more than just the e-payments, and we realise that there is a lot of complexity behind there that certainly I know I'm not going to be aware of, and just from what you've said here and some of the terminology that started to be raised, there is a bit of a gap there between me going in and trying to sort of flush out that information. So I think the user research stuff that you've done actually is really interesting as well. And it's sort of my current user research, I've got 5 days left of their time before they leave to join Cabinet Office, and I'm wondering if I can get some in the next week, do a little bit from our side as well, because I think it'll just add some additional value to the work that Lauren and Lottie have already done. It's just another perspective then, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think through the Slack message as well, there's another council that's been doing some of the research and they've offered to share as well.
Oh, excellent! Yeah.
I think the more collective we can get, the better.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Right.
Sorry.
Cool.
Yeah, I was just going to say, because we've got a project that's well underway looking at replacing our cash receipting system and our finance system. I know Peter, who's the project manager on that, has had a number of sessions mapping out the processes, so I'll get those shared across with you as well.
That'd be great. Thanks. Yeah, thanks, Paul. We've had no questions on the Google link at the top, so I think we can finish there. So last thing to say really is just thanks for everyone who's attended. Thanks for your time, and we'll keep in touch.
Again, thanks for all the contributions from partners as well. It's obviously collaborative effort. So
yeah,
that's really good. Thank you very much. I wouldn't mind if I could just very quickly just tag on a couple of little things that we're working on, just so we're all kind of in the loop. This stuff that you've been doing this week has been fantastic. It's a really great start. Yesterday, the small team here in GDS, kind of supporting this discovery, just sat together for an hour and a half and tried to kind of relook at the proposal and try and see how we could kind of match up kind of a research plan to that. So broadly, we know that you've already kicked off the kind of topic of what a good e-payment system looks like. And the work that Lauren and Lottie are doing so far sounds fantastic. We were kind of hoping to kind of feed into that as well, with like the kind of current focus being on the paying user, rightly so, it's the right place to start, and we can have those kind of key questions around trust and accessibility. But we also wondered if we could share like what our kind of topic guide is, just for like when we're kind of thinking about things, that there might be something useful in there for you. And I suppose there's some more questions that are kind of more directed at what a good e-payment system looks like for a finance team or a digital delivery team. Finance teams are interested in things of like, you know, refunds and VAT and receipts and chargebacks and things like that. And from a digital services team, integration concerns and things like that. So again, we're more than happy for you to lead on everything you do. Great stuff. We just thought that it would be useful to kind of feed into topics that we have that might help with that. And we were also kind of looking at some of the key kind of things of like GovUK Pays integration with income management systems and the reconciliation process, the obstacles to adoption. So kind of looking at some local authorities that have declined to use Pay in the past, and to try and see what we can learn from there about what needs we weren't missing, and maybe starting to even derive some sort of like gap analysis on kind of where we are and what we need to do. We're also kind of looking at some questions around the proposition, or kind of how we communicate that. There seems to be a little bit of a disconnect about exactly how Pay fits into people's current mental model of financial systems. I don't think it's a straight swap, you know, at all times. So we need to do a little bit of work explaining exactly what we do, and also planning to do a little bit of work with kind of talking to some consultancies, so GOS, DXW, Methods, Public, maybe even some form builders and stuff like that. We're thinking about that. So at the moment, we're kind of currently trying to write a research plan. The work that you did on the income management flow this week is amazing. So what we're hoping to do with that is kind of take that and start to bring it out to some other local councils. So far, we've already been in conversation, I think, with Cherwell and Oxford and Allerdale, and we're kind of in the process of planning that at the moment. We need to go back to them with some specific questions of, we need these people in this room for this amount of time to talk about these things, just so we have a bit more focus on the research. But when we have that research plan in place and have some sense of how we can share out the workload, we'll be in contact with you straight away to see how we can get you involved, either to be coming along or for us to give you discussion and topic guides that maybe you can go and visit councils that are closer to you. Obviously, there's a geography issue there. And then also we've been talking, I mentioned last time, we've come across a very interesting project in Barnsley where they've rather than procure an income management system, they've built their own for various reasons. Incredibly inspiring work. We had a call with that team last week, and they've since shared an epically long document that I haven't got through yet myself. But we're planning a visit to them to try and learn from them as much as possible about what the needs are around these systems and what they learned from doing that work. So I think that's probably at the end of the month, maybe around the 22nd or something like that. But as I said, when we have a firm sense of dates, time, discussion guides, we're going to share everything with you as soon as possible. But that's kind of the work that we've been doing as well. So looking forward to getting cracking with that stuff.
Thanks a lot, Connor. Okay. Well, thanks again, everyone. We'll end the broadcast now. The Hangout will still be available for a few more minutes. Yeah.